have a Facebook? Have you thought about the privacy you put at risk? The Facebook allows users to post their favorite music, books, movies, their address, hometown, phone number, email, clubs, jobs, educational history, birth dates, sexual orientation, interests, daily schedules, exactly how they are related to friends, upload pictures of themselves, and even political affiliations. Its privacy policy even goes so far as to state it also collects information about you from other sources, such as newspapers and instant messaging services. This information is gathered regardless of your use of the website. Think that's scary? The Facebook's term of service state, by posting member content to any part of the website, you automatically grant, and you represent and warrant that you have the right to grant, to Facebook an irrevocable, perpetual, non-exclusive, transferable, fully paid, worldwide license with the right to sublicense to use, copy, perform, display, reformat, translate, excerpt, in whole or in part, and distribute such information and content, and to prepare derivative works of, or incorporate into other works, such information and content, and to grant and authorize sublicenses of the foregoing. Have you seen the Facebook's Pulse feature? Pulse provides statistical trends among universities down to minute details such as percentages of females with conservative views, the student body's top 10 movies, and percentage of students who have read Catcher in the Rye. The so-called privacy policy goes on to say that they may share your information with third parties, including responsible companies with which they have a relationship. Can you think of any marketing group who would pass up buying such valid yet easily collected statistics such as these and others? So maybe they're using us. But is there more? The first venture capital money totaled at $500,000 came to the Facebook from venture capitalist Peter Thiel, founder and former CEO of PayPal. He also serves on the board of radical conservative group Vanguard PAC. Further funding came in the form of $12.7 million from venture capital firm Excel Partners. Excel's manager, James Breyer, was former chair of the National Venture Capital Association. Breyer served on National Venture Capital Association's board with Gilman Louie, CEO of In-Q-Tel, a venture capital firm established by the Central Intelligence Agency in 1999. This firm works in various aspects of information technology and intelligence, including most notably, nurturing data mining technologies. Breyer has also served on the board of BBN Technologies, a research and development firm known for spearheading the ARPANET, or what we know today as the Internet. In October of 2004, Dr. Anita Jones climbed on board BBN along with Gilman Louie. But what is most interesting is Dr. Jones' experience prior to joining BBN. Jones herself served on the board of directors for In-Q-Tel and was previously the Director of Defense Research and Engineering for the U.S. Department of Defense. Her responsibilities included serving as an advisor to the Secretary of Defense and overseeing the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. This goes farther than just the initial appearances. DARPA shot to national fame in 2002 when knowledge of the existence of the Information Awareness Office came to light. The IAO stated its mission was to gather as much information as possible about everyone in a centralized location for easy perusal by the United States government, including though not limited to Internet activity, credit card purchase history, airline ticket purchases, car rentals, medical records, educational transcripts, driver's licenses, utility bills, tax returns, and any other available data. All of the above raises more questions than answers. Perhaps if the Facebook wishes to stay ethically sane, it should enact a policy. What happens in the Facebook stays in the Facebook.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce with the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 6th of November, 2014. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? It's one of those things that just, it's incredible. It is incredible that we have, a social network that is like that. I'll be back right after this.
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Damn politicians. My mother always told me this country would be screwed if the liberals had their way. The only sanity I get is when I listen to Jeff Wagner on The Conservative Voice, only on the Conservative Radio Network.
What's on your mind? Chances are it's on their mind too. Come check out Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. Friday evenings at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, only on Spreaker.com. It's New York, February 1964. The Beatles are making their appearance at the Ed Sullivan Show in one more day. The Plaza Hotel is crazy with preparations. Alex Frazier, a desk clerk, has secretly let his brother Freddie use the penthouse suite for the evening so he can wine and dine the girl of his dreams. What Alex and Freddie don't know is the Secret Service is using the same room to hide spy novelist Henry Lade. His most recent novel has attracted the attention of the Soviets and the East Germans. The communist countries believe Lade may have secretly discovered their plot to bomb Fresno. What Agent John Parker and Henry Lade don't know is the Beatles are staying in the same room for their first appearance on American television. Let's Get Laid by Thomas Amo, available on the Kindle at Amazon.com. Eastland Radio Repertory Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor? Do you want to hone your abilities? Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. We are currently looking for voice actors to fill certain character roles in an ongoing radio play in development. Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. Folks, how are ya? This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 6th of November, 2014. So how you doing? Hey, you know what? I just want to mention this. I'm recording this, and well, you know, my cell phone keeps going off with notifications. I got this, I got that, I got phone calls, I got this. So every once in a while, you might get you might hear the phone, my cell phone buzzing. Well, I thought about that before taking a break, and it started buzzing. If you didn't hear it, it was buzzing, and so during the break, I turned it off. So you won't be bothered by that anymore. Have you guys, I just got to ask you, those out there that own cell phones, have you been talking to someone and then all of a sudden your phone just, it buzzes once or twice. You know, you get it on vibrate, it buzzes once or twice, and you're like, you look at it, whatever. And then all of a sudden about 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, it just keeps going, and it starts getting annoying. That's what was happening. So you guys understand, I hope. Anyway, hey, how you doing? You can email me at freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and even if you disagree with me, show me why. You know, I'm going to have to be a little selfish here on my part because, I talk about how people can support Free America Radio Network, and what Free America Radio Network is a network with 2 shows that anchor the network right now. I'm looking for podcasts and stuff like that as well. But see, I can't, I'm just doing this for free. It's coming out of my pocket. I got to pay the ISP. I got to, all that. I got to pay, I got to pay the bills. Okay. And it's coming out of my pocket. And therefore, that's why I ask for help. So whatever you can do, you can do. I can completely understand how tough it is for some of you. So literally, I appreciate your help. So, but that's the reason why I'm going to pay for this stuff. Okay. So that's why I asked for help. So there you go. So anything that you can do, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Go to the WayneSPierceShow.weebly.com site, and you can donate there if you'd like. Or better yet, you can go to freeamericaradio.us, and I do take PayPal or Bitcoin. The Bitcoin thing I might take down, and I might put up something else, but let's just go with PayPal for right now, shall we? So go to freeamericaradio.us, check that out. And again, thank you very much for your support. So appreciate that. Anyway, what shall I talk about? What shall I go into? What shall these things be that I discuss today? Let's go to the go-to site that I like going to because it's a plethora of headlines, and that would be Drudge Report. Wounded Democrats look for answers. Frustration with Pelosi simmers. Sharpton, election a defeat for Clinton's. Well, of course. Got a lot of things going on there. Obama wrote secret letter to Iran's Khamenei, is that what it was? Jihadists on cruise ships to Syria. What? Just putting it out there, folks. This is on the Drudge Report. You can go look at it yourself. Number of people under active monitoring for Ebola in New York City triples. That's whether you think it's a hoax or not, whether you think they're covering something up or not. Let's still be, vigilant and pay attention to this stuff. Home Depot, if you've gone to Home Depot recently, says hackers stole 53 million customer email addresses. 53 million. Folks, there's 300 million people in America. So that's, there you go. Warning, malware Mac attacks. Apple on alert. So, there you go. So, but they're pretty good at getting, getting those things taken care of. Here's this. Child mental health at risk in digital age. What? Let's take a look, because, these things are vitally important. Mental health of children and young people at risk in digital age, cyberbullying, and rise in self-harm highlighted by MPs voicing concerns over violent video games and sexting. And this is over at theguardian.com. Now, let me ask you a question, first of all, because it said violent video games. Remember years ago, back in the 80s and 90s, I think specifically late 80s, mid 90s, around in there, people were going to the news and saying that video games were violent, or maybe it was 2000, I'm not quite sure, but I do remember the news report saying that violent video games are causing our kids to do this, blah, 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 blah. Remember that? Remember all that hoopla about that? And now it's sexting. Teenagers have been caught sending nude photos to other people, and accidentally sending them to their fathers. Stories like that. Is it true? Is it not true? I don't know. But this is what the article says at The Guardian. Mental health of children and young people at risk in digital age. Violent video games, the sharing of indecent images on mobile phones, and other types of digital communications are harming young people's mental health, MP warns on Wednesday, amid evidence of big increases in self-harm and serious psychological problems among the under 18s. Cyberbullying and websites advocating anorexia and self-harm are also posing a danger to the mental well-being of children and young people, the Commons Health Select Committee says in its report. Sarah Wollaston, chair of the committee, who was a GP, general practitioner, for 24 years before becoming a Tory MP in 2010, said, quote, "In the past, if you were being bullied, it might just be in the classroom. Now it follows you way beyond the walk home from school. It is there all the time. Voluntary bodies have not suggested stopping young people using the internet, but for some young people it's clearly a new source of stress," unquote. However, the MP said that they found no evidence of the emerging, it's trying to run those two words together, the emerging digital culture was behind the worrying rise. Said no evidence that the emerging digital culture was behind the worrying rise of up to 25 to 30% a year in numbers of children and young people seeking treatment for mental health problems. So I'm going to put this on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. I believe that it is it puts the focus, or I should say this article should not put the focus on the young people themselves, but should put the focus on the parents. Okay? I find it odd, okay, that I find it odd that parents cannot or will not pay very close attention to their children. I find it odd because I know the parents adore and love their children and want to do everything they can to protect them, but when it comes to bullying, the parents seemingly wait till almost the last second before they do something. Now that's not true for all parents, of course, but the ones, the stories about bullying, you see those stories. Well, that's only one or two stories that you read. What about the other, 100 million that are out there? You know what I'm saying? So parents sometimes don't really get a clue, seriously, because the child may come home feeling down, feeling, like, he's lost their best friend or something, and they won't say anything, okay? Because, it's just, it's nothing more, because you know how you were when you were a child. Where's your homework? Oh, it's at school. How you doing? Oh, I'm okay. Anything wrong? No, because you lie. Because you don't want your parents to know that something's wrong. The parents are the first people the kids should run to and say, "Mom, Dad, I'm being bullied at school. I need some help." But they don't. They don't. Because the aggressiveness of the bully suppresses their emotions or pushes them to the brink. And then, the problems, it's like your child will come home and it'll be like a freaking volcano at some point, So, I can say this. Was I bullied in school? Yeah, I was. Did I take care of the problem? Oh, most definitely. And teachers were there and helped protect me from the bullies. Okay? We don't have teachers like that anymore. because the school district's afraid of being sued. Okay? Well, no. If a child is in trouble, teachers, you go and help that child. It's another human being that is probably not anywhere near capable of taking care of themselves. Okay? Well, I got bullied in high school, too. Don't get me wrong, man. I got bullied. You bet I did. Hey, bullies. All that are out there that think you can bully the adults in your job, or parents who have kids that, you think are sweet but are bullying people at school. Let me tell you something, bullies. Karma's a bitch. It'll kick your ass. And that's probably something you need. But parents, I'm telling you, pay very close attention. Please. Even if, you don't want Eddie Haskell's running around. If you remember the reruns of Leave It to Beaver, remember him? Hey, Squirt, get out of here. Oh, hi, Mrs. Cleaver. The Jekyll and Hyde type syndrome. Pay close attention. When I went over to my friend's house, my mom says, what's their phone number? I want to call. Okay. That's how I grew up. Here, there's a phone number. Okay? So, kids don't want to do that because they want to keep things secret. Remember that? Remember how you were folding your papers into little notes and you were passing them to people in your class? Now, kids are so, I'm going to say, so dexterous with the cell phone that they know what numbers to press to text people across the room. You understand where I'm coming from? So, what do? Well, first of all, parents, never, ever, 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 ever give your child a cell phone. But it's for emergencies. Maybe I have to call them. Maybe they have to call me. Maybe. When I had an emergency in school, or when there was something going on at home, or my mom wanted to get a hold of me, or my dad wanted to get a hold of me, or whatever it was, they would call the school. The school would send someone down to the classroom I was in and tell me, hey, come to the office. Okay, cool. Or I would, if I had something going on, the teacher would, either take me to the office or I would go up to the office myself. And they would call my folks when I got in trouble. That was the way it was. And that's the way it should be. Well, we're in a world of technology that we have to be, on top of our kids all the time and blah, blah, blah. You know what? You're dealing with the governmental indoctrination institutes. Don't tell me they can't track your child. They got cameras all over the place. So if something goes wrong, it's going to be on camera. Okay? Schools have been sued because, parents and the school districts, from some stories I've heard, where they're not going to put cameras in the classroom because they're afraid of, privacy issues or whatever, And it's definitely not, cameras definitely are not going into the bathrooms. That's number one off the top of the list. They said no, and schools are going okay. But bullying, I wanted to talk about that a little bit because the one thing that I've seen in my life has been how children are exploited. And they're bullied into doing something. In other words, the bully or the two or three people that are, bullying your son, your daughter, whatever, and they make them do stuff, this kind of thing. That goes on. Okay? The article continues. Sorry, I went in that direction. The article continues, by the way. It says the cross-party group acknowledges that forms of online and social communication are now central in the lives of under 18s, but says that a government inquiry, there we go, into the effects is needed because of the potential for harm. Quote, for today's children and young people, digital culture and social media are an integral part of life. This has the potential to significantly increase stress and to amplify the effects of bullying, unquote, the committee report says. See? You know what our social network was? When I was your age, do you know what that was? It was me and a bunch of friends getting on our bikes, going to the park or going riding. That was our social network. You know how we, wanted to text somebody? Yeah, we would write a letter. What? A letter? What's that? You know, it's... Let me go on here. Some young people experience, quote, bullying, harassment, and threats of violence, unquote, when online, the MP says. While they did not look into the internet regulation in the depth during their 6-month inquiry, they concluded, quote, in our view, significant concern has been raised to warrant a more detailed consideration of the impact of the internet on children's and young people's mental health, and in particular the use of social media and impact of pro-anorexia, self-harm, and other inappropriate websites, unquote. That right there would be the linchpin that would cause the British monarchy or the British, authorities to censor certain websites. Let me tell you what's happened in the last 10 or 12 or 20 years that I know of anyway. Things are, Big Brother does their things over in Europe, does their things in England, does their things in that side of on that side of the pond. And then if it works out for them and if people get all pissed off and whatever, they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing over there. So finally people can't move. And therefore they go, oh, now we have people under our control. Let's throw that over into the U.S. Well, what they failed to understand, and which they've underestimated, that we're not going to take their crap. We're going to fight back. We're going to defend ourselves. You step on my toes, I'll punch you in the face. Metaphorically speaking. Okay? That's just the way it is. Continuing, it calls on the Department of Health and NHS England's Joint Task Force now investigating, alongside bodies such as the UK Council for Child Internet Safety and Mental Health for Under 18s, to assess the impact of social media. Why don't they just flip the switch and cut off all social media? Make them go outside and play. God, remember that? Jeez, kids, parents, remember when we were kids? What are you doing sitting in front of the TV watching those stupid cartoons? Why don't you get out and go outside and play with a dog or something? Remember that? Yeah. The MPs appreciate the move for e-safety to be taught at all 4 education key stages in England. But they also want the Department of Education, as part of the review of mental health education in schools, to, quote, get this, ensure that links between online safety, cyberbullying, and maintaining and protecting emotional well-being and mental health are fully articulated, unquote. How are they going to do that? Wollaston voiced concerns that, quote-unquote, sexting, sharing indecent photos, could be traumatic for vulnerable young women persuaded to pose for intimate pictures, then finding the shots shared wildly. If you don't want it on the internet, don't take a picture of it, okay? Some would end up being harassed, she said. Sexting had, quote, become normalized in some school environments, she said. Can't even say that. Quote, we need much better education about the dangers of sexting, unquote. She also expressed unease about the impact of violent video games played by young people. Parents, she said, should do more to check what their offspring were doing online in their free time and talk to them because, quote, if they are spending 2 hours a night doing that, Is that harming their child? Unquote. That's a legitimate question, actually. Lucy Russell, Director of Campaigns and Media at the Charity of Young Minds, said, quote, the 24/7 online world has the potential to massively increase young people's stress levels and multiplies the opportunities for them to connect with others in similar distress. Websites like Tumblr, where there has been recent media focus on self-harm blogs, must do all they can to limit triggering content that which encourages self-harming behavior, unquote. Russell backed the committee's view that the internet could also be, quote, a valuable source of support for children and young people with mental health problems, unquote. The good and bad. There you go. But she added that, quote, many professionals feel completely out of touch with, even intimidated by social media and the net, unquote. Yeah, those are the counselors in the psychology offices that are over 50. They just can't handle, all the new technology that's out there. Continuing, the report paints a grim picture of the growing number of under 18s needing care, often struggling to assess it or becoming an inpatient hundreds of miles from home as children and adolescents' mental health services tried to cope with budget cuts, lack of staff, and too few beds. Quote, major problems, unquote, in assessing services ends with, quote unquote, children and young people's safety being compromised while they wait for a bed to become available, unquote, say the MPs. Services under such pressure that in some parts of England, children only get seen by a psychiatrist if they had already tried to take their own lives at least once. Despite the growing criteria for being, criteria for being referred to NHS treatment have been tightened in most of England, the MP says. Liz Myers, a consultant psychiatrist at the Cornwall Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, told the Inquiry that its services for the young were receiving 4,000 referrals a year, though were only commissioned by the NHS to do 2,000. 4,000 a year, but they're only accepting half. Quote, this has meant that we are necessarily having to prioritize those that have the most urgent and pressing need, and we have no capacity for earlier intervention and very little capacity to see those perhaps with the less life-threatening or urgent risky presentations. There are increasing waits. It is not okay. We do not want that for our children and young people, but we have to just keep prioritizing, unquote. Hilary Cass, president of Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health, said failure to tackle emerging problems with young people's mental health meant the issue was now, quote-unquote, a hidden epidemic. They're going to keep prioritizing. You know what prioritizing means when they're seeing half of the referrals that they get a year? You know what that means? Yeah, that means that they're going to put them off. They're going to put that off, put this off. Let's look at the more severe cases. Let's take them in. Well, what about the kid who cannot, whether it's a boy or a girl, who cannot really, vocalize or know how to put these things into words that's troubling them? What about those? What about the ones that are, so stressed out at school because of all of the freaking homework, What about those people? I mean, they're human beings. They're just smaller than we are. And we got to help them out. So there you go. Anyway, it drives me up the wall to, hear about that. Because, the mental, but here's I'm going to say this. Here is what's triggering all of this interest in the mental health of children who spend time on the internet or in social media or whatever. What behavioral effect is social media having to any child under 18? And here's the trigger. They're using something else that doesn't even come close to being a behavioral problem within a child under 18. Violent video games. Did you notice that several times in that article they've put that in there? Why? To keep you reading, to keep your mind focused. Oh, it's violent video games. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. You know, and if these children under 18 were watching these things and really, you know, oh my God, they don't know, you know, the difference between what's real and what's not. Do you think that these stressed out kids who were being cyberbullied or bullied at school, don't you think they would have done something by now? You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, this is weird. I want to, not weird, but I want to congratulate, as soon as the article comes up here, God, sometimes Google Chrome, I'm telling you, businessinsider.com. I want to congratulate Republican of South Carolina, Tim Scott, the first black senator elected in the South since the Reconstruction era, is no fan of racial-tinged Democratic attacks on his party. So this is what he says, quote, "The lowest common denominator of fear and race baiting is something that the other party has tried to do, and the voters said no. They rejected this," unquote, Scott said during a Wednesday night interview on Fox News' Hannity. The voters continue to repudiate that approach to politics, unquote. Scott, who won his re-election bid Tuesday, was responding to a recent remarks by Representative Charlie Rangel, the Democrat of New York, that have directly connected some Republicans to Confederates. He dismissed Rangel's comments as ridiculous and argued that the past few election cycles proved Southern politics has changed. Quote, "If you look at Governor Bobby Jindal in Louisiana, a person of color, look at my governor, Nikki Haley, a person of color, and now myself, the South has made so much progress, and the best thing that folks like Mr. Rangel can say is that he's going to hearken back to 100 years ago or 70 ago. Let's talk about tomorrow," unquote, Scott said. Scott is one of the only two African-American members of the Senate, along with New Jersey Democrat Cory Booker. On Thursday night, Scott also went on MSNBC's Morning Show to praise the progress his home state and the whole region had made over the decades. Quote, "South Carolina voters vote their values and their issues, and not my complexion," Scott said. Quote, "This is a great sign for what's happening throughout the South, but certainly a fantastic sign for the evolution that has occurred in South Carolina." There's a video there. I'll put this up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page so you can hear his own words. You know what I mean, dude. So, let me ask you a question before I go to break. We have a situation in America that we have allowed people such as Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. I'm not going to call them reverends. Reverends don't race bait. We have people like that are constantly putting out the race card and then complaining that people are putting out the race card. Okay? It's amazing to me that we have people like that in America, that we still have racist individuals in America, that we still have prejudiced individuals in America, that we still have people saying, because you're different than me, I don't like you. Because you're a different color than me, because you're a different sexual orientation as me, you have a different job than I have, or you have no job. Oh, it must be because of your color. No. Oh, it must be because of how you were raised. No. Folks, I'm not prejudiced or racist. I was born in Stockton, California. I had friends of every race, creed, color, and religion that you can think of. Now, race and color are the same thing. I know. I caught myself. But I don't want to hear it. People have called me racist. People have called me prejudiced. People call me just all kinds of names, and I just look at them and go, really? Seriously? And I walk away laughing in their face. They don't know how to handle that. I got Asian friends, black friends, Mexican friends, lesbian friends, gay men who are friends of mine, and we get along just fine. What does that make me? It makes me human. That's what it makes me. It makes me a person who understands the differences of people. And I will say this. When I see something stupid, I will say it's stupid. That's just the way I was raised. You put it out there, you get it out there, you don't, and once you do that, you're releasing this moment of stress that you may have that might build up, and you don't want it to explode on somebody else. If somebody did something stupid, I'm going to call them on it. That's just the way it is, and that's how I was raised. I go to break. If you ask me anything you like, you got comments, questions, concerns, hey, ask me. I'm more than happy to tell you. Even if you disagree with me, show me why. freeamericaradio@usa.com. freeamericaradio@usa.com. Go to the Wayne S. Pierce Show website at thewaynesPierceshow.weebly.com and check it out. I believe if my tongue and my lips will work, I can speak. Yes, I will be back after this.
Sarasota's home for R&B and soul. The Razor Blade Express with Dave the Rave.
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Ah, damn politicians. My mother always told me this country would be screwed if the liberals had their way. The only sanity I get is when I listen to Jeff Wagner on the Conservative Voice, only on the Conservative Radio Network.
Eastland Radio Repertory Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor? Do you want to hone your abilities? Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. We are currently looking for voice actors to fill certain character roles in an ongoing radio play in development. Please send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Theater at USA.com. Local radio with a worldwide connection. The Free America Radio Network. Go to www.freeamericaradio.us. Hey, folks, how you doing? This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce with the 6th of November, 2014. Yes. How you doing? Hey, you can email me if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and even if you disagree with me, show me why. freeamericaradio@usa.com. freeamericaradio@usa.com. Yes. Go to the Wayne S. Pierce Show.weebly.com. If you want to support this show, you can. Hey, there's a way to do it right there. There you go. You can either sponsor this show or donate. Yay! You can do that. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, before the next natural or man-made disaster happens, you can get your emergency food supply from my website as well. Get as much as you need. You'll be helping out your family and this show specifically and Free America Radio Network as a whole. So, yes, there you go. Any way that you can support this show, I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anyway, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? How do we do it? Yes, there we go. Oh, man. What has this world come to? Seriously. Okay? Seriously. Another lie from the state-run media. How do I know they're lying? Because doctors in Dubai back in 2001, 2002 have said that they themselves worked on Osama bin Laden and he died of kidney failure. This is what was said back then. Okay? Just letting you know. The Mail, dailymail.co.uk. The lie is Navy SEAL who killed bin Laden revealed Rob O'Neill named as SEAL Team 6 hero who shot terror chief 3 times in the head and has already inspired a series of Hollywood roles. Let me say this. Bin Laden has been dead for quite some time. They just roll him out as oh, look, there's a straw man. What? He died back in 2000. From what I understand, he died back in 2001 or early 2002 from kidney failure. His CIA operative name was Tim Osman. Go check that out. It's all on record. Alternative and independent media have found that out, so it's no secret now. But everything that surrounds that whole situation with him is just suspicious. Okay? Completely suspicious. SEAL Rob O'Neill named head of Fox News interview in which he will tell how he killed bin Laden and why he is giving up his anonymity. Navy hero is upset at lack of health care and retirement after leaving the service and wants to speak out. In an exclusive interview with Mail Online, Rob's father reveals he and his son are not worried about being in the ISIS crosshairs. Dad says, quote, "I'll paint a big red target on my front door and say, come and get us," unquote. His actions have already featured in 3 movies, including Captain Phillips, Zero Dark 30, and Lone Survivor. Decision to out himself as the shooter has caused fury in the SEAL headquarters and in the Pentagon. Quote-unquote, family man completed more than 400 combat missions, killed more than 30 targets, and is one of the most decorated SEALs ever. Well, since they don't have, Chris Kyle anymore, they got to prop somebody up. Right? So I'm going to put this article up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. So anyway, why in the world, it's kind of funny, he almost looks like Chris Kyle. Why in the world would anybody want to believe the mainstream media? I'm just putting it out there. You people decide that on your own. China to clean up harmful web videos. Site pledged to manage online content. By the way, that's what's coming here to the United States. China to clean up harmful web videos. Sites pledge to manage online content. This is from Beijing. Does anybody remember years ago when China's capital was called Peking? Remember that? I remember that. I'm, old enough to remember. This is from Reuters. China's major web portals have signed a commitment to, quote-unquote, self-manage comments on their websites. State-run Xinhua news agency reported on Thursday. Internet giant Tencent Holding Limited, Sina Group, and Sohu.com Incorporated were among 29 websites that signed the pledge after the Cyberspace Administration of China held a meeting to discuss the topics. Folks, don't use Google. Go use startpage.com and search these places up. Tencent Holdings Limited, Sina, S-I-N-A, Sina Corp, and Sohu, S-O-H-U.com Incorporated, were among 29 websites that signed the pledge after the, go look this up too, Cyberspace Administration of China held a meeting to discuss the topic. The websites promised that users would respect, quote-unquote, laws and regulations, the socialistic system, the national interest, and the legal rights of citizens, unquote. They would not publish comments that reveal state secrets, harm the reputation of the country, or, quote-unquote, destroy national unity. Also on Thursday, CAC and the State Administration for Press, Publication, Radio, Film, and Television held a joint news conference to launch a campaign to clean up web videos, Xinhua said. I believe that's how you pronounce it, folks. I don't know. It's Xinhua. Is that Xinhua? I'm not Chinese, so I don't know. The campaign, which will run until the end of the year, is meant to target, quote, harmful, unquote, material such as, quote, unquote, obscene sexuality, quote, unquote, violent terrorism, and, quote, unquote, false rumors. You can shove conspiracy theories in there, too, as well. On a variety of online platforms, including mobile app stores, blogs, online storage sites, unlicensed video streaming websites, and Wixen, the popular messaging service developed by Tencent. Leading online video sites in China include those run by Sohu.com, Tencent, Youku Tudou Incorporated, as well as Baidu's Incorporated, or Baidu Incorporated. Baidu's, what is this? I can't pronounce that name. BAIDU Incorporated's. Here's the name: small I, capital Q, small I, small y, small I. I have no idea what that is. It was unclear if the campaign would include them. The new measures are the latest in an escalating campaign to crack down on unwanted material online. Critics say the increasing restrictions further limit free speech in the one-party state. Last year, Chinese authorities announced severe penalties for the spreading of what they called irresponsible rumors online. In September, Xinhua said CAC has closed nearly 1.8 million accounts on social networking and instant messaging services since launching an anti-pornography campaign in April. This is reported by Adam Rose and Andrew Roche. This is over at news.yahoo.com. I'll put this up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page so you can take a look at it. By the way, making an executive decision today. I know that most of you love listening to me on the Views Express Live today, or any time at all, really. Usually Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. But I want to give a big shout out to the one and only Mr. Brian Lang over at LiveTruthRadio.com. And, of course, the ever so effervescent, just being myself, folks. Go listen to Mr. Bob Brutus over at CrazyWolfRadio.net because he's got some really good shows. They're on at 12 midnight 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 midnight Eastern. You might want to check out Bob Brutus and Waking Up the Masses at CrazyWolfRadio.net, and also Brian Lang over at LiveTruthRadio.com. Check that out as well. Awesome. My executive decision is this: I will not have a show today, only because of the fact that, when you get behind on things, you got to take the time to take care of them. So that's the only reason why, folks. It's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's not that I don't want to fill you in on what's going on. I've taken time out to do this podcast to let you know what's going on. Plus, again, if you want to support Free America Radio Network, you can do that. Go to freeamericaradio.us. There's a PayPal link there, and there's a Bitcoin link there as well if you want to donate. If you want to sponsor any of the shows on Free America Radio Network, you can do that. Just go to the sponsors page. I'm not out to break your advertising budget, folks, and that's the way I like it. So go to the sponsors page and check out the rates there. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, man. We can work something out. No big deal. Yeah, there you go. Free America Radio at USA.com. Free America Radio at USA.com. Also, Before the next major man-made disaster or natural disaster happens, get your emergency food supply right there on the website at freeamericaradio.us. Click on those links and you'll be helping out your family, your friends, your neighbors, if that's what you do, and you'll be helping out Free America Radio Network continue its mission on sharing the truth one fact at a time. So that's freeamericaradio.us. Click on the emergency food supply tab and get as much as you can, man. So there you go. Anyway, there's a couple of shows that you haven't heard for a while if you are a follower of mine on Spreaker.com and on Facebook. You haven't heard Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show, have you? You haven't heard that, have you? That's because we just haven't done it. And there's not we just haven't done it. There's no excuse. We just didn't do it. But like I said, Free America Radio Network is scaling back a few things. So stay tuned. I'll tell you more about that on the Free America Radio Facebook page, of course. And you haven't heard the Unnamed Show with myself and my lovely, adorable co-host, Laura Clemens. So, again, just haven't done it. We keep talking, hey, we're going to, set aside some time to do it. We just never do. We just never done it. We just, So, that's why you haven't heard us or heard those shows. So, that's the Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. It's usually on whenever we can get it on. And the Unnamed Show, the same way. That's the Unnamed Show. You can go to grabbagshow.weebly.com for the Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. That's a long name, isn't it? Here, let me give you the shorter version of that. grabbagshow.weebly.com. Check that out. Also, Unnamed Show, that's unnamedshow.weebly.com for the other one. So check that out, unnamedshow.weebly.com. Check those shows out. Again, if you want to support those shows, please do. I'll make a way for you to do that and get us back on the air so that we can bring you entertainment and fun and enlightenment all at the same time. So anyway, folks, I have fun doing this. I really do. And whatever you can do to donate to Free America Radio Network, it not only keeps this show on the air, keeps Views Express Live on the air, but it helps pay for the bandwidth. And none of that, I'm telling you right now, on record, none of that goes into my pocket. It just goes and pays for the service that I use. So that's it. That's all. Yeah, so there you go. Anyway, so if you want to continue to hear the Views Express live, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, please contribute. Go to freeamericaradio.us to do that. If you want to hear the Wayne S. Pierce Show continue on, right now it's in podcast form, but I will do it live again at some point. Go to the WayneSPierceShow.weebly.com site. Donate what you can, if you can, and we'll go from there. So there you go. Hey, folks, I'm going to get out of here. I got things to do, as I said. You get behind on stuff, and it's just really, really hard to catch up, isn't it? It's a pain in the butt. You just got to go, God, I got to catch up. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, procrastinator. So anyway, folks, hey, I'm going to get out of here. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, ask me anything you like. No question is off limits. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And even if you disagree with me, show me why. Free America Radio at USA.com. That's Free America Radio at USA.com. And you can always go to the website as well, freeamericaradio.us. That's freeamericaradio.us. Folks, it's always fun to do these for you, to do the podcast, to come to you live, and all of that. But, I want you to have a great day and a great weekend and all of that. So I shall talk to you later. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast. You can catch it on the WayneSPierceShow.weebly.com site. And also go to freeamericaradio.us to contribute to the network. Have a great day, folks. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hey, stick around and listen to the Krisanne Hall Show, Liberty's Lobbyist. You can go to her website at krisannehall.com. She'll be right up right after this.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for Liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Thursday, November 6, 2014. Gold is trading around $1,144, silver $15.39, and Bitcoin is trading around $338. Today's Bitcoin price brought to you by ExpressCoin, the fastest and most reliable way to buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin today at expresscoin.com. Today's edition of the Liberty Beat brought to you by our newest sponsor, eFoods Direct, redefining the way you think about storable food. Easy to make and great tasting, with a shelf life of over 25 years. To celebrate our new partnership, eFoods Direct is offering Liberty Beat listeners 10% off their purchases. To take advantage of this exciting offer, call 800-620-5520 and mention coupon code LibertyBeat. To learn more or to buy online, visit efoodsdirect.com. In the news, on Wednesday, thousands of protesters around the world took part in the Million Mask March, with demonstrators in Washington, D.C. and London challenging the police head-on. London police arrested 10 people after protesters clashed with police officers and allegedly committed assault. At one point, the protesters grabbed metal barriers, which separated police from the activists. In Washington, D.C., protesters also wrestled with police over metal barriers. The masked protesters in the nation's capital verbally challenged the police and called for an end to government corruption. On Tuesday, Hawaiian voters decided to ban the growing of genetically modified crops. The new measure creates a temporary moratorium on GM crops until further health and environmental studies are completed. Tomorrow, the Austin City Council will entertain a proposal to authorize the acceptance of future grants from the Department of Homeland Security for Austin-Bergstrom Airport TSA screening areas. The grants could total up to $50 million by the year 2015. The practice of using federal DHS grant tax dollars for airport security dates back to 2003. When the Homeland Security Grant Program passed into law shortly after DHS's inception. Since then, Homeland Security's budget has cost taxpayers more than roughly $500 billion. The grant program has been widely criticized by the Government Accountability Office as a model vulnerable to graft. On Tuesday, Hawaiian voters decided to ban the growing of genetically modified crops. The new measure creates a temporary moratorium on GM crops until further health and environmental studies are completed. Support for the Liberty Beat comes from Cabo Bob's, Southwestern-style burritos, now with 2 locations in Austin, 500 East Benoit Boulevard and 2828 Rio Grande Boulevard. Find them online at cabobobs.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Thursday, November 6th, 2014. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/thelibertybeat. This weekend's Texans for Accountable Government, the Liberty Beat, and Peaceful Streets Project will host a party in celebration of Antonio Beeler's recent acquittal for failure to obey a lawful order. That arose from his 2012 arrest for stepping in when he saw police aggressively handling a woman. After 4 days of trial, the jury of his peers found him not guilty. This Saturday, the victory will be celebrated, and Jermaine Hopkins, the APD officer who crossed the thin blue line to testify on Beeler's behalf, honored. Texans for Accountable Government's Executive Director Justin Armon extends an invitation to the public.
Antonio has made it clear that this wasn't just his win, his victory. This is a win for those willing to protect and serve each other. Truly a win for our community. Texans for Accountable Government is, of course, honored to be a host.
The celebration happens at Freddy's Place on South Lamar from 7 until 10 p.m. The event is child and dog friendly, and there will be live music. This weekend in Austin, the Alternatives Exposition, or Alt Expo, will take place at the Spider House Ballroom. Speakers include Scott Crow, Max Borders, and the Liberty Beat's Derek Brose, Catherine Bleich, and John Bush. Come learn about the alternative ways to organize society, from agorism to unschooling, and spirituality to health. They're uncovering new ways to design our lives. Come be a part of the conversation at the Spider House Ballroom on Sunday from 10 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. with the after party at Brave New Books. Today's edition of the Liberty Beat brought to you by Brave New Books, your source for all things Bitcoin. Now hosting a Bitcoin ATM. Located in Austin, Texas, 1904 Guadalupe Street, or online, bravenewbookstore.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Thursday, November 6, 2014. I'm Brian Hagan, reporting. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
I know you're out there. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came here to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. A world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
The Krisanne Hall Show.
Any varmint that crosses that lady's path has met its match.
Rise and shine, liberty-loving patriots. Welcome to the Krisanne Hall Show. This is not a talk show. This is a teach show. I do not regurgitate news for you. You can find that just about anywhere on your radio dial. We don't use dials anymore, do we? You know what I mean. No, this is a teach show. I take contemporary events and turn them into constitutional training sessions. And that's what I hope to continue to do. You can find that same plan on my website, krisannehall.com, Krisannehall.com. And today, I want to talk to you about a few things. We normally have Ask Me Anything Wednesday on Wednesday, but we didn't have Ask Me Anything Wednesday on Wednesday this week. So instead, I'm going to do something a little bit different in the second half of the show. We're going to take a question that I posted on Facebook. And the question that I posted on Facebook was, what do you want now? What is the first thing that you want to see changed in the federal government? Now that we have this miraculous establishment of a Republican monopoly, I suppose, in the Congress, what do you want to see changed first? And I got like 150 comments on that. And so I thought that was a really good place to make up for the Ask Me Anything Wednesday that we missed this week. And we're going to go over those suggestions in a teaching sort of fashion. And we're going to address the ones that were most asked, the ones that were most liked, the most popular ones. And then we're going to discuss some things. Can these things be done? Will they be done? How will they be done? Should they be done? That sort of thing. But before we go into that, that's the second half of the show. Before we go into that, I want to discuss with you the president's press conference yesterday. Now, this man is completely delusional. He is a psychological mess. I don't know how the man even ties his shoes in the morning. He is such a mess. But, I'm sure he doesn't have to tie his shoes in the morning. He has somebody that will do it for him. I picture Barack Obama with a stuffed teddy bear sucking his thumb as he sleeps at night. He is absolutely a mess. And this speech and this situation that he is in just proves that the man cannot handle any kind of stress whatsoever. And he is trying to pass off what has happened in the elections this week as having absolutely nothing to do with him and everything to do with the fact that the silly little peasants just had a temper tantrum. Oh, it wasn't because they were unhappy with him, even though everyone who has ever studied elections since the beginning of elections say that midterm elections are an editorial, an op-ed of the people, of their feelings of the president. Now, the Democrats don't admit that now because it's their guy in office, and when the Republicans are in office, they don't admit that either. But this man, Barack Obama, is in full, flat-out denial. And there were times when my husband and I were listening to this press conference where we actually just bust out laughing because the man is so neurotic. I don't think that he's stable. How do you get somebody like that in the office of the commander-in-chief? How do you get people who support a man so psychologically sick? I don't know how to wrap my brain around that. I think what we're starting to recognize is just how psychologically sick he is, and that's why he's losing support. I mean, the interesting thing that we learned from this poll, from this election, is that according to exit polls, 53% of the people disapprove of Democrats, of the Democratic Party. 56% disapprove of the Republican Party. I want you to catch those numbers. 53% disapprove of the Democratic Party and 56% disapprove of the Republican Party. Put those numbers together, and we learned 80% of the people disapprove of Congress. 80% disapprove of their employees whom they've elected to represent them. Do you know how huge that is? We are saying that as a constitutional republic, where the government is created, limited, and defined by the Constitution, and laws are created through equal representation by representatives in the House and the Senate, that 80% of the people who vote, because these were exit polls, 80% of the people who engage in the election process, 80% of the people who are engaged in the process of hiring the people to represent them, 80% of the people who have hired employees do not like their employees. How many private business owners would dislike their employees so much and continue to pay them to do their job? I mean, think about this from a rational perspective. Do you realize that this poll, 80% of the people disapprove of Congress, admits the people believe themselves to be completely powerless to politics and politicians? You know, that's not a republic, America. That's a totalitarian kingdom. That's how you complain about barons and lords. That's how you complain about kings. You complain and you feel like you have nothing to do. You have no way to fix that. I want you to think about that. Exit polls, 53% disapprove of the Democratic Party, 56% disapprove of the Republican Party, 80% disapprove of Congress. Yet look at the ballots. Look who won. We just elected and re-elected from the same pool of people who so greatly disappoint us. How does that happen? How is it that we spend 3 solid years complaining about every aspect of government to the point where we have gotten where 80% of the people in this country cannot stand Congress? And yet, how many incumbents did we return? How many people did we put back into office? How many people did we elect from the same monolithic, two-sided one party? Right? Why do we believe that we are still stuck with 2 choices, and then we keep electing from the same pool of people we cannot stand? Oh, this is great, America. Let's see if we can just keep doing the same thing over and over and get different results. Einstein called that insanity. We are suffering from an epidemic of insanity in this country. We are absolutely stinking nuts. Bat crazy. Electing the same people and then rejoicing that we put, I have to laugh, 56% of the people disapprove of the Republican Party. And yet we have a huge celebration over the fact that we have put the Republican Party into power. We have given them the most powerful branch of the government. Well, guess what? If 56% of the people disapprove of the Republican Party, and we are rejoicing over the fact that the Republican Party now owns the most powerful branch of government, then we should not complain when they only listen to the people and do what we want them to do 46% of the time. I'm sorry, 44% of the time. 56% disapprove of what they do. That means 44% of what they do we approve of. So guess what? Shut up, America. I mean, seriously, shut up. I don't want to hear any more complaints over the next 4 years. I don't want to hear any more complaints over the next 2 years, because the best you can expect from whom we've elected is that they will do what they're supposed to do only 44% of the time. And you knew that when you put them into office. No more complaining. You better pray, God have mercy on us.
Krisanne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Well, I kind of got off track there. I wanted to talk about the president's press conference and some things that he's been doing. We'll go ahead and get into that now before I get distracted again. I'm just absolutely disgusted by the irresponsibility of American voters. I mean, it just stuns me. And if we can elect people that we can't stand 56% of the time and give them the most powerful branch of government, even though we know we cannot stand what they do, the majority of the time we know we cannot stand what they're doing, we're going to put them in office. And then the president says that has nothing to do with me. Are you kidding me? If the American people can overwhelmingly allow people into office, they can't stand 56% of the time, it can't be because they love those people. It's because they hate Obama so much. Now, some things that Obama said that took my attention, he said, I have a unique responsibility to make this town work. So I just wonder how many people believe that. Because listening to this president makes me understand that there's a complete disconnect with what we believe our proper role of the office of the executive is. See, I'm beginning to believe that we believe that the president is like the CEO of the Washington government. And that's why he believes, and I believe many people believe, that it's his unique responsibility to make this town work. He is not the CEO. Basically, he's the commander-in-chief. His powers are reserved to what we do when Congress declares war. He does not have the power to declare war constitutionally. That's an invented power. He does not have that power. He cannot go to war unless Congress says so. The framers said this over and over and over again. I mean, even Alexander Hamilton, of all people, said this, that the difference between the president and the king is that the king can declare war and the president cannot, and that the only role of the president is in this matter is commander-in-chief. He's the director of the Army and the Navy. He's the general. He doesn't declare war. He commands the troops. He can only create treaties that are ratified by Congress and, according to the Supremacy Clause, compliant with the Constitution. The executive branch was designed to have less power than Congress. But we have turned him into the CEO and put him over the board of directors, which we think Congress is. And as the man who has the unique responsibility to make this town work, he believes that it's the job of the federal government, especially the executive branch, to create a path for young people to succeed. No. Your job, according to James Madison, is war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce. That's it. Foreign affairs. James Madison called them external objects. Your only job is foreign affairs. And if you want to get into state realm, to be technically proper, your only influence on the state realm is the post office and post roads. That's right. Post office and post roads. What are post roads? Post roads are the roads that the post office drives on. That's it. The Department of Transportation is not supposed to handle every road on the planet, just the roads that the post office runs on. Oh, wow. That is every road, isn't it? Perhaps we've escaped that box as well. He also says, not only do I need to create a path for young people to succeed in America, I need to make sure more Americans share in prosperity. How do you suppose we're going to share in prosperity? Well, we're going to turn law into plunder. We're going to create a situation where everybody has to share. Believe it or not, that's the same philosophy of the kingdom that we declared independence from in 1776. Sharing in prosperity. Now, I'm going to leave this section with a question because he made an interesting statement. He said, we have our economic situation, our country has improved since the crisis 6 years ago. Can somebody please tell me? Contact me on Twitter, on Facebook. Tell me what crisis we experienced 6 years ago. Could that have been the election of Obama?
It never really mattered how hard it would be, 'cause she filled me with love and the strength to lead. She said, something down if you get it our way.
The Krisanne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Krisanne Hall, Krisanne Hall Show. Find me at krisannehall.com, Krisannehall.com. Will you please make a promise for me today? Will you promise me that you will visit my website sometime in the next 24 hours? If you are on Facebook, will you promise me that you will go to my Facebook page, like my Facebook page in general, but then start communicating on these posts? Help me out here. You are my Liberty First Brigade. You are the people who are tuned into the daily training. Help me educate people on Facebook. I can't keep up with this myself. I need you. You are the ones who hold the greatest level of teaching that I give, my daily teachings. And I need you. I need the Liberty First Brigade on Facebook. I need you sharing these posts with your people. Let's continue to teach. I need you to share these podcasts. We need to get more people involved with the Liberty First Brigade. We must do that. Because we have a long road to hoe. Especially understanding that we have people who are willing to hold their nose and put people into government that they cannot stand 56% of the time. Well, we're talking about Obama's press conference. He believes that he has the responsibility to make this town work. He believes it's his responsibility. He believes it's the federal government's responsibility to make a path for young people to succeed. He believes it's the federal government's responsibility to make sure more Americans share in prosperity. That is not a constitutional republic. That is a kingdom. He mentions that we are doing better since the crisis 6 years ago. And I asked you before we left the break, what crisis would that have been 6 years ago? Well, since he was speaking on November 5th, the day after the election, the crisis 6 years ago, the best I can see, was the fact that we elected him. He said, and then he said something else. He says, we are doing so much better since the crisis 6 years ago. Businesses are creating jobs outpacing the rest of the world. Wow. See, I thought he and Hillary Clinton believed that businesses create nothing, that private industry creates nothing, that government does all of that. Do you see how they repeat what we want to hear when it's convenient to them? And then he said something like this, was just absolutely amazing. This man, I'm going to tell you, this man is completely crazy. And I mean that in a clinical sense, not in a satirical, not in a sarcastic sense. He is crazy. He says, now I know Congress will pass some bills I don't like. But I also know that I will take some actions that Congress won't like. That's democracy at its best. Now, those of you who are in the Liberty First Brigade know that there are many, many problems with that statement. The most glaring is his determination that we are a democracy. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. Now, of course, he wants us to be a democracy because mob rule is easy to control. You see, democracies are mob rule, and then all you have to do is show the mob something shiny or give them a crisis, and they will follow you over the ledge. Democracies are lemmings. That's what democracies are, lemmings. People who will race towards the cliff and jump off the other side because, well, that's what everybody's doing. Now he says Congress will pass some bills I don't like, which means I'm not going to sign them. And I will take some actions that Congress won't like. Means I'm going to do whatever I want. And Congress can go take a flying leap. Because I'm the ruler of a democracy. And the people can't stand you the majority of the time, which means they must like me the majority of the time, which means I'll keep doing what we need to do. He says, we need to hone in a way to pay for the things we need through tax reform to create higher quality jobs. We need to hone in a way to pay for higher quality jobs through tax reform. Who's going to pay that? analyze that statement. Who is going to pay for higher quality jobs? Well, the answer to that question is in the statement. Through tax reform. We are going to pay for higher quality jobs through tax reform, which means your taxes will pay for higher quality jobs. Again, we're back to the situation, I guess, where businesses create nothing and government creates everything. Oh, I suppose businesses only create things when government creates the businesses. Maybe that's what he meant. Yeah, there you go. I've discovered he hasn't contradicted himself. He actually stayed true because he believes that government creates businesses through tax reform. I want to remind you that one of the reasons that we can't stand the Republicans 56% of the time, Barack Obama mentions in his speech. Republicans agreed to early childhood education and student loan forgiveness. When I put that post up on Facebook, what do you want the federal government to do first? Someone said, get rid of the Department of Education. And it was like that suggestion was liked 29 times. And then repeated through the thread. Get rid of Common Core, get rid of Common Core, get rid of Common Core. Why did you elect people if this is what you want to do? 29 likes was the second highest liked statement in the entire thread. Considering also that we're repeating this Common Core dissolution thread throughout the comment throughout the thread. So I have to ask you, America, why did you elect people that are in favor of this Common Core early childhood education and student loan forgiveness? If you are in favor of a limited government, why did you re-elect people who operate absolutely contrary to those things? 5 out of 5 states approved the increase of minimum wage. Do you know 5 states who had that on the ballot approved the increase in the minimum wage? How awesome is that to be able to vote yourself a raise from someone else's pocket? And these are the same people who put the Republican Party in control of the Congress. And then here's one of the points where we laughed out loud. 5 weeks to pass. He says, I have 5 weeks to pass a budget. A bipartisan budget. In a bipartisan, drama-free way. Congress has 5 weeks to pass a budget in a bipartisan, drama-free way. How condescending is that? As if government has ever done anything in a drama-free way. That's how you control the mob, right? You have to give them crisis and dramas. He says, I'm looking forward to the suggestions from the Republicans on how this country should run. Yeah, we don't ever worry about the suggestions of the people anymore. I want you to catch the significance of what he said. I'm looking forward to suggestions from the Republicans. Because government doesn't operate as a representative of the people anymore. They operate as a representative of the parties because we're so busy voting parties into power. We are no longer voting people into power. And so we are no longer people represented. Do you know who's represented in Washington, D.C.? The Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And then Obama says, I think this is probably the greatest statement yet. The key is to find areas in which my agenda overlap those ideas from the Republicans. So in other words, Republicans, your job is to find out where you agree with me, and then just we'll do that. Find out where your ideas overlap with my agenda, and that's what we'll go with. I've shown a lot of patience, he says, and I'm going to do all lawfully available within executive power. And the Republicans need to compromise. No, Barack Obama, you are now in the minority. Your party that's represented in Washington, D.C. is now in the minority. You need to compromise. But see, he's not going to do that. That's what not. This is. He's not about that. He's a narcissistic, psychological, sociopathic mess. And he is absolutely delusional. So on this Facebook post where I asked, what do you want the federal, now that we have this joyous day where the Republican monopoly controls the Congress, what do you want to see? The most liked comment was to dissolve and defund unconstitutional agencies. 32 likes on that one statement, but not just simply that. Over 100 statements in this thread. And this statement was repeated more than anything. Dissolve and defund unconstitutional agencies. Now that gives me a thrill in my heart because that is something that I have taught now for 3 years. The only thing that I want from Congress is to defund, disarm, and dissolve unconstitutional agencies. That's it. That's it. Defund, dissolve, and disarm. I don't care what order. I mean, obviously, if you dissolve them, you're disarming them. But I think it would probably be better if you defund them first before you try to disarm them. Because if you keep giving them money and you take their guns away, they're just going to buy more. So we got to defund them, disarm them, and then dissolve them so they don't have the arms when we dissolve them. And then we'll get rid of the Department of Education, like 29 other people agreed with. And there's so many things that we need to talk about. Secure the borders of the top. Dissolve unconstitutional agencies. Get rid of the Department of Education. Get out of the United Nations. Secure the borders. Term limits. Repeal the 17th Amendment. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of these things, their feasibility, what we can and cannot do.
The Krisanne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist. Krisanne Hall Show. She's Liberty's lobbyist.
Welcome back to the Krisanne Hall Show, our final segment. Remember, you have promised me that you will go to my website and my Facebook in the next 24 hours. Promise me that you will share this podcast or any podcast in the next 24 hours. Will you make a habit of sharing 3 podcasts a week? We've got to get this out. You know, my syndicate for free. I don't charge anybody for my show. I don't charge anybody any kind of advertising or anything. So if your local radio show has a slot for me, you know, they have something like those infomercials, then you can contact them and tell them, look, they can have my show for free and actually do a public service that will help save liberty for their people and their children, and see what they think about that. All they got to do is contact me. We'll put you on the syndicated list, and that's it. You got it. So listen, we're going to talk about this. Dissolve, defund unconstitutional federal agencies. There should be no excuse for that now. That is something that Congress can do. As a matter of fact, that was something that our Republican majority could do through Article 1, Section 7. They didn't need the Senate. But now they have no excuses because they have the Senate and they will be able to do this. It just simply takes a majority. The president has no say in the matter, by the way, so he can't veto it. And then if we dissolve them, then we will get rid of the Department of Education. We have the authority to get out of the United Nations. We do, because Congress can do that. Congress can repeal a treaty if they find it to be unconstitutional. And I believe that the UN treaty and all the UN treaties are absolutely unconstitutional and would be easy to show as such. Secure our borders. Well, Congress could do that as well because they have the power of the purse. They could actually defund every aspect of amnesty that our president is engaging in and fund control of the borders that puts our people there. They could do that. Term limits. They could very easily repeal the 17th Amendment. It would take more than a majority, but I believe that it's something that we should be seeing as a movement now, a repeal the 17th Amendment movement, because they have the power and the influence now, and the people have control, allegedly, as controlling the monopoly of the Congress. Now, here's an interesting one. This says, nullify all laws passed by Obama. Now, that's an interesting application of words because we want this Facebook person wants us to nullify all laws passed by Obama. First and foremost, Obama has passed no laws. He can pass no laws. The executive branch does not pass laws. The executive branch simply signs things into law that Congress has passed. Now, I suspect this person is talking about executive orders. And if we dissolve the unconstitutional agencies, that takes care of your executive orders right then and there. But also, we as the states need to understand that all these executive orders have no power on the states. The states are not bound to follow and comply with an executive order that reaches outside the powers delegated by the Constitution. And these executive orders control executive agencies that are outside the delegation of the Constitution. So we don't have to nullify them. Let me just make that clear. They're already null and void. We just simply have to stand up and make sure that that happens, that we simply declare them null. They already are. We're just recognizing that they are nullified and that they have no power in our states. That's what we need to do. That's not what the federal government does. That's what the states do. Get rid of Mitch McConnell and John Boehner as the leaders. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen because, you see, you went and voted for a people that you cannot stand 56% of the time. And so that means the majority is going to reflect what you cannot stand 56% of the time. And Mitch McConnell and John Boehner are the very good representatives of what you hate 56% of the time. And so, we can repeal Obamacare now. We have the power to do that. We have the power to repeal the Patriot Act and impeach Obama. Is that going to happen? Only if you make it. God bless. See you tomorrow.